Going on, everybody? So I want to do a review on the Kreg concealed hinge jig. So a couple features. These two knobs here adjust your distance away from the edge of your board for your door, and allows basically your cut to change distance from the edge from 3 to 6 millimeters. There's a couple little holes here that you can drill with an auger bit to line your screws up pretty well perfectly, depending on the hinge you're using. Of course, you want to always, you can kind of see the hole there a little better. There's a hole there and a hole there. It's kind of in the shadow right there. And these, considering this is plastic, they're going to end up getting wore out eventually. I use a 7/32 or 36 inch auger bit usually to pilot drill for the screws. This top piece comes off, and this is the bit that will be creating the hole for the concealed hinge jig, or for the concealed hinges. And it's got a stop collar here to allow you to adjust the depth of cut, and an Allen wrench is provided. The one thing I do not like about this is the top here does not have any cuts or anything to allow the chuck to grab a hold of the collar here. So it ends up, kind of, when it gets into like a knot or something, it'll end up kind of sliding around. So I kind of find that a pain. But, usually I don't have too much of a problem with it, but, occasionally I'll get into a knot or something and it'll just want to kind of twist around in the chuck. So also underside, which a lot of people don't know, there's a place that you can stick your Allen wrench for your stop collar. So I always hide it here, that way I know it's always with the jig itself. And then here, the underside of the depth gauges, the distance gauges from the edge of the board. So every time you make an adjustment, it moves it that far from the edge. So I usually stick with 3 millimeters in my case, because I want it as close to the edge as possible. So 3 is what I always go with. So obviously, with a review, you typically don't get to view, the use of the product, but in my case, I'm going to show you how to use it. So to make things pretty quick, I have 2 separate drills here. One has the Kreg jig installed. One has an auger bit installed, which is going to be our next step. And then I have, we're going to need 3 separate, basically you're going to need this, you're going to need your auger bit, and then you're going to need a Phillips head screwdriver or bit to go into your drill. The bit to go into your drill would be a lot quicker, obviously. So the bit that goes into your drill is going to be for your screws that go into your cabinet hinges. That'll go into the hole that we're getting ready to make on this door. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start drilling this hole so you guys can see how it's done. So what I like to do is just take and line this jig up with the edge of the door right here flush. And usually you can just take your finger and just kind of go down along here and you can tell if it's lined up or not. Of course, I want to line my jig up to where it's perfectly lined up at the edge like I want it. It should be sitting pretty well flush on the door whenever that happens. Everything feels flush, looks flush. So now we go ahead and start drilling. Yeah, and you'll tell whenever you get to the bottom, because you kind of heard the change in torque there. Another thing about this is this area here will get kind of packed up on you. You usually drill 2 holes and then, you know, you can clean it up. You can just take this thing off and clean it up a lot easier. And then I'll bring the shop back in and clean the rest up. Alright, get you focused over here where you belong. Alright, so again, line up at the end of my door here. And make sure everything's lined up at the edge, which it is. A lot of people like to use clamps here, but I find it easy enough just to hold it down. Once it gets started, it's not going to go anywhere. Alright, so packed up pretty good. I mean, I can move it, but you can hear that squeak. So, just take it off, twist it, pulls it off. It's got a pretty good wide in there. I just push this stuff out. Just be aware that that bit may be a little hot. That's the easiest way I've found to clean that out. And now I'll just take my shop vac and clean up. See how pretty them holes are? I mean, they're perfect holes. I couldn't, with the old method of doing these, I mean, this is definitely a time saver. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to remove the jig from the drill because with the drill attached to the jig, you're not going to be able to make the holes, the pilot holes, that you need in order to install the hinges. So I simply take and line this thing up where it was prior. Make sure the bit drops into the hole, which sometimes takes a little bit of maneuvering. So you can turn it around and through there and everything. So we know it's lined up. I will take my second drill with the auger bit, which will make sure that it's a 7/32. Is a 7/64 inch auger bit that I typically use for the Liberty hinges. Everything's lined up. All I got to do is drill on pilot holes. You want to make sure that you do not go too deep into the door, otherwise you'll go out the front end. I've got my own kind of gauge basically. I just, whenever it hits there with the side of the auger bit, I mean, it's as deep as I'm going to be able to get it anyway, but it does not go through the front that way. That's my own little trick. Alright, we're going to do the next one. I already have it dropped into the hole. See, our holes are made here. Holes over here too. They didn't go out the front. Okay, so now next step will be to drop our hinges in. I've already done the liberty of opening the bag. Speaking of Liberty, we're using Liberty hinges. This is the package they come in. Liberty soft close hinges, and the model number on this particular hinge is 850704. These are fairly easy to install. So you will get 4 smaller screws like this. This is what installs into your hinges in the back here. And then you'll get 2 longer screws like this, which will install right here in this hole whenever you install them onto the face frame. So this will go into this and into the face frame. You'll always want a pilot drill. Alright, so here's where that 3rd drill would come in handy. But instead I'm putting my bit into my 2nd drill that I had previously. Alright. Simply get my screw lined up at the hole. Tighten her down. Tighten her down, do not over tighten. You don't want to strip things out. So that door is ready to install on the face frame. Alright, you're getting a view from inside the cabinet. I'm going to go ahead and install this cabinet with the Liberty hinges on it to the face frame. So I find it easier to keep these closed. Line up with where I want it on the cabinet itself. These particular doors are just about the same size as the opening, top and bottom, but side to side they have a 1/2 inch overlap. So what I want to do is line them up as evenly as possible with the top, just like so. So that's about as even as I'm going to get. I want to make sure that that hinge is on the outside like it's supposed to be. It's got a little teeth on either end, just to kind of let you know where it's supposed to sit. And these are supposed to work with 3/4 inch face frames. I have 1/2 inch face frames on this one, so I have to make do with what I have. Okay, so I'll just go inside the cabinet here, make my little mark with my pencil. As long as that screw is anywhere within that little groove that's cut within the hinge itself, we're in good shape because we can make an adjustment. See, there's a hinge, there's a basically a groove right here, which I know it's kind of hard to determine, but within inside here there's a groove, and your screw can be adjusted to basically just loosened up, and then you can slide this door up and down as needed. So I usually just mark one and then put my drill my auger hole. Again, still using that 7/64 inch bit. Okay. Now you want to make sure you have your screws with you. Have your screws with you, and have your Phillips head bit here in your drill. And you can usually finger start these. I like to open the hinges up now to make things easier to install. I line up with my hole here that I made with the auger bit. Get it pretty close to where I need it for right now. Get the hinge, that is, pretty close to where I need it. I can always make a finer adjustment later. Right now we're just trying to get this thing home. Alright, she's tightened up pretty good. Now I'm going to make my second auger hole. Try to get it lined up the same way. Same gap, same everything. Now I want to get my second screw. Line it up with the hole. Again, make sure that gap's about the same. Alright. Now, close my door. Soft close. Should say very soft close. Okay, it needs to come up about 1/8 of an inch. All I gotta do is back my screws out a little bit, just enough to loosen the contact up here. Okay, now I want to raise the door up. See how much play it has. Then I want to just kind of shut it. And I can hold it in as long as I don't have that other door on. I can also open that door up and have some wiggle room here too. A little lower than that. So right about here is where I want it. Right about here. So I'll just kind of hold it there. Where that second person comes into play. Okay, right about there. All right, she's snugged up. I'll go down here to the bottom and do the same thing. Okay, now shut it, see how it looks. Looks good. Looks like, and with these hinges here, you can also adjust them backwards, like into the cabinet, crossways, and up and down, which I just showed you the up and down method. Alright, so there's 3 screws in this hinge here, in the part that goes onto the face frame. So this particular hinge over here on this side, which is the furthest screw on this side here, that one will bring your door in and outward from the face frame. This screw here, which is the one closest to the door, it brings your door sideways, so that way. And then the one in the middle, which I already adjusted and you saw, brings it up and down. So that's the 3 screws for the Liberty hinges. So we need to tighten up this screw here to bring it in a little bit towards the door. Alright, that's probably about as tight as we want it. Yep. Looks pretty good. Alright. tight as she gets. Looks good. That's how it looks on the outside. Well, I hope that video helped you all out with determining whether you want to buy the Kreg concealed hinge jig. It's definitely worth the money, I think, and it definitely saves a lot of time compared to the old method. And also, I hope you all learned how to use it to help you install the concealed hinge, you know, in the back of your doors and onto your cabinets. So anyway, that's all from me. You know, hope you all like this video. Rate, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. See you on the next one.